getting here the day after we can on National Signing Day. But what a splash Billy Napier made on signing day. There were a lot of wondering what's going on of what he can make out of signing day after they're taking the job and some decommits and transfers out of the program. But in the end, makes a big splash with some high level recruits on the way to Gainesville. And it ended up being a really fun day. It was fun. It was finally fun to cover a signing day. Mullen was able to get some good players in his classes before, but the signing day themselves were really not all that fun. Most of the guys were already signed. You knew who was coming. A lot of the signing day decisions weren't going Florida's way, and you kind of knew that beforehand. But with this, it felt different. It really felt different of being in the race for Kamari Wilson, Shamar James, Devin Moore, and getting those guys, getting Chris McClellan, who you weren't sure if he was going to stick around and stay after a visit to Oklahoma with his buddies that he was committed to in Gainesville. You weren't sure if he was going to stick around, and he did. So really fun day being able to cover a signing day. Still plenty of work to do, of course, but you have to be able to, I think, jump on board with the hit of what we got in just over a week from Billy Napier. All right. CT 82. What's up, man?
What's up, Dave?
How you doing?
Man, much better after yesterday, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, none of us really should. Not those of us that's followed him, man. We should not be surprised by this. We really shouldn't.
You're right.
The only thing I'm really surprised that he pulled it off in less than 10 days. So, that was incredible. I'll be honest. I was more confident with Shamar than I was Kamari.
And, I think I felt the same.
Yeah, like I felt really confident we were going to get Shamar because I know we've known for a long time he really wanted to be a Gator. This is where his heart is. I mean, when the kid shows up at unofficial visit to watch the Florida State game and watch it, knowing the coach has been fired. But I also think yesterday was kind of an indictment on Dan Mullen, to tell you the truth. I think a lot of these kids didn't like him. And, of course, they're not going to come out and say it publicly. But I think a lot of these kids didn't like him. And I think Billy just has that personality that draws people. Now, he may not show that in the press conference, but from what I've heard, I mean, he's just a very down-to-earth, can be kind of funny, at times.
CT, I'm glad you said that before you go further with that is recruits they're not watching press conferences for a head coach. I mean, if there's some quirkiness that goes on or something crazy that goes on, okay. But an overall general feel of a head coach, recruits aren't getting that for a press conference.
Not at all. They don't care about all that. They don't care about all that. I will tell you though. I told a friend of mine this. I said, it feels like I told him this last night. I said it feels like that Billy Napier woke up yesterday morning and said, God, I need a perfect day. Give me a perfect day. And it started off with Florida State getting body bagged by Jackson State. And it was just like, okay, Billy, I'll give you that. And it was just like a perfect day for Gator Nation, right? But I wanted to go to something real quick. Speaking of Jackson State, man, I'll be honest with you. As funny as that was, and it was great, that was a bad thing for college football, in my opinion. And I do believe things need to be amended when it comes to, NIL, when it comes to – I'm not saying get rid of it. I just think it needs to be adjusted. And
like I say, I'll go with you on that too. I agree, only because of the connection the head coach has to where the money is coming from.
Yeah.
Like if it was just all right, Barstool, everybody wanting just to hop on Hunter and what he's doing, okay. But with a connection to Dion, that it really blurs the line of a head coach really getting involved. And look, we know it happens, but now this is just really putting it out there in the open. So as you said, I don't mind players getting paid. I think they should,
Oh, absolutely.
but there has to be a way to regulate what's going on.
Absolutely, because it's a wild west out there right now, and these programs, to their credit, they're taking advantage of it. I just didn't think it'd be Jackson State, but uh, but it's I love the fact, and I'll say this too, I feel comfortable as a longtime Gator fan. This is the first time in a long time that I've actually felt comfortable with a coach in knowing what he's doing. He's, as Josh has told us before, he's an innovative guy. He thinks ahead. And I think with all these changes with college football, we have a coach that he's on the cutting edge of everything he wants to do. So he's going to be looking for ways to adjust, and it's comforting to know that we have a coach that can do that. So whatever happens in the coming days with NIL and transfer portal, because I do believe there's going to be changes made with that too. It's comforting to know we have a coach like this.
Yeah, it looks like he'll be able to adjust pretty well.
Yeah.
Of course, his adjustment that he made at Louisiana in a short amount of time, and his foresight and how to build that program, and how he approached early signing day by signing nobody there at his first job, and then how he, of course, he wasn't going to do that at Florida. Florida had some commits already that you could stay on board with, and also he probably has, as he said, this has been a learning process for him. They learned along the way at Louisiana, so he learned along the way of what he can and can't do. Or now there's still a learning process of being in the SEC and applying everything he's learned so far. But I think you have to be impressed with the early returns of everything that's happened in the last 8, 9, 10 days, commits, decommits, transfers, all that, and then waking up yesterday morning and then going to bed last night. Everything that transpired in that 14, 16-hour window, I think sheds a light on the potential. And as Will and I said last night, I think you could feel a little bit of hope, at least on the recruiting trail moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll leave you with this because I know a lot of everybody else wants to get on here, but I will say, man, the Gator Collective they got some big things coming up. I think the powers that be at Florida are taking notice, and I'm excited to see what that's going to do when it comes to NIL. And if you're not a part of it, man, you need to get in it, because I really think that's the future of this game, and especially at the University of Florida. So
yeah, that it helped play a role yesterday in specifically the recruitment of Kamari Wilson, just checking out NIL opportunities that Florida has.
yeah.
And Billy Napier, we saw him, and I know Eddie's in here listening to this, but Billy Napier followed the Gator Collective day one on the job at his press conference, and not long after a press conference, we see the Twitter follow of the Gator Collective. NIL is here to stay, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
It's going to be a part of recruiting. It's going to be a part of college football. It's part of the reason there's some signees and some recruits in Gainesville playing a large role now. And it's going a long way. We saw it in the big spotlight that it was in yesterday with Hunter and FSU and Jackson State storyline, but also if you want to zoom in a little bit, it played a part in Gainesville as well.
Absolutely. Listen, man, go Gators. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, man. All right, Jay. Jay, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
Man, I just have to say, man, I am ecstatic with what I saw yesterday. Flipping a kid from Georgia, keeping Notre Dame and Oklahoma at bay, and then finally breaking the IMG curse. That was amazing. But I think the biggest thing from yesterday that I kind of took away, I had a friend of mine. He follows recruiting pretty heavy. He's a big, huge Florida State fan. He texted me last night and basically told me we have something brewing in Gainesville that the entire college football world should be on notice. And that's huge coming from somebody from Florida State. He said with 10 days, what we was able to pull off literally should have been impossible. And we just made that possible. So, man,
Jay, I'll extend that to a Georgia buddy of mine. He texted me yesterday, and let me see if I can find that text. Let's see. Kirby hasn't had his butt kicked on the trail by Florida in a while. Our fans are still on edge by getting beat by Alabama, but this is the first time that they can look at Florida and say there may be something there. So it's coming from, I look. Granted, look, we know there's still work to do. If you look at the overall recruiting class in 30th, a lot of people who are not really following it close are going to look at that and say, well, why are Florida fans so excited? Just go to yesterday, just specifically yesterday. Don't worry about how many commits are in the class or anything. Just look at who Florida was going after, who they targeted, where they got the kids from. That's why Gator fans are excited.
Yeah, and I think it's that, and the fact that you pulled this off in 10 days with a skeleton crew.
Yeah,
that within itself, literally. I mean, if I don't care who you are and where you recruit at, you probably should be looking at Florida as a huge threat at this particular moment.
I mean, you have to, and you know what? I'm eager to see. I don't want to fast forward through next season or anything like that because I live and die by those 12 games Florida plays every year. And look, we'll get a good inclination of Will Miles has really put this to the test, and he wrote a really good article about it a few years ago. Of you can kind of tell the trend of a recruiting class by August. So as we get through these next 8 months, 8-9 months, you'll get a really, really good idea of Napier's status on the trail and getting guys on campus and getting guys on visits and commits. By the time football season starts next year, you'll get a really good idea. And I think by what we saw yesterday, I think it's gonna hit the ground running. I mean, the wheels are gonna be spinning. You put them down on the ground, and it's go time. I think that's what yesterday showed us a little bit of. Hey, there should be no trepidation. There should be no worry anymore. Let's just go enjoy the process and see how it plays out.
Absolutely, Dave. I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you think Coach Napier is gonna, or what areas do you think he's gonna hit inside the transfer portal? Because I mean, it's pretty obvious we're gonna have to do some type of work in there. What areas do you think he's going to hit inside of the transfer portal? Not necessarily people, but positions.
Yeah. I do think he'll probably try and get a quarterback from there. So I think that's one. With Emory Jones on the way out, and probably some injury history of Anthony Richardson, and you got two young guys on the roster as well. Now with Emory Jones going out, I do think you probably go get a quarterback in the transfer portal. Copeland leaving, whether that was probably going to happen either way, whether it be NFL draft or transfer. Now, I know there was a meeting yesterday with Napier and Copeland, so we'll maybe see what comes out of that. Maybe he decides to stay. We'll see where that goes. But maybe receiver because I still think Florida, and I don't know if you could go, like I know Alabama was able to do it last cycle, but go get a difference maker wide receiver, go get that. Because I'm still not sold on it. Like, I think a lot of it is due to quarterback play this past year for Florida. I still do wonder, though, if Florida has that one difference maker or two difference makers at the wide receiver position. I think there's a bunch of good pieces. And it may be reminiscent of early Mullen tenure in 18 and 19, where there's really not a standout. Like, you knew Van Jefferson was the number one, but stat-wise, he didn't really separate that much from everybody else. So I do think, a good quarterback can make that receiver room look kind of similar to that, where everybody's kind of grouped together, but they're all just really, really good players. But I do wonder if you can go out there and maybe target and get a big difference maker at receiver position. But trenches on both sides. That's dangerous. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of great offensive linemen in the transfer portal. That's probably a worry. But I do think you probably need to get a body or two there if you can. Defensive line as well. I know Florida hit the transfer portal really hard last year for that, but I think you have to do it again because besides Gervin Dexter, nothing else proven there on the defensive front. So I do think you may have to really hit the transfer portal up front. So I think the trenches, that's where I go first. But I do think he's going to target a quarterback as well. Maybe another true linebacker if you can get a true linebacker in this system. Defensive back, I don't think you have to hit there. So maybe you do if you can get a difference maker, you get a top end guy. But trenches is probably where I'm really looking at, and maybe a difference maker wide receiver.
Got you. Thanks, Dave.
Oh. We'll try and get some guys in here who don't get on too much. What's up, John?
Hey, David. Hey, man. I really like the moves that we made yesterday. We got some good top guys. It looked like. I would like to see a transfer portal quarterback, like you said, just because I don't feel comfortable with the guys that are going to be left behind. AR. One thing I'm curious, and it's just kind of popped in my head like a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think some of the injuries that Anthony Richardson suffered with the hamstring and stuff, that could have been because, he's been on the sideline and, he comes in for 2 plays and comes out and, a lot of, stop and go type stuff for him?
I think that possibly could play a part. I think also with him, it was a nagging injury. It was a hamstring that dated back to the spring last year as well. So that has been an issue. Maybe a certain rest. He's getting rest now because he's coming off meniscus surgery there. So that's gonna probably play a part there. So he'll be resting up and needing to rehab, and hopefully could be ready by spring practice this year. But I do wonder because he did say that knee injury dated back to high school and something he's been dealing with ever since then. So, maybe overcompensating or compensating in some ways for that can lead to other injuries. Of course, that's just pure guess. I'm not WebMD or a doctor by or anything like that. I'm just kind of speculating as we go there, but maybe getting this cleaned up. The meniscus, an injury that dates back quite some time. Maybe that can help along the way as well.
Yeah, and one more question for you. Who do you think might be in line to start at running back next year with Davis and them gone probably?
Yeah, that's one I have thought about just a little bit as well, especially with that transfer portal question that just came up. And I don't think Florida. I guess you could hit the transfer portal there too if Pierce and Davis leave. They leave you with 3 running backs with Naquan Wright, Bowman, and Lingard, and probably another one just in case an injury happens as well. But I know we'd like to see not necessarily a workhorse running back, but if there is a hot hand or if there is a guy you can really count on, maybe one guy that gets the bulk of the carries there, but. There's your 3 guys there, right? Bowman and Lingard. That'll be something I have to see probably play out in spring football. I think Wright with his experience will probably lead the way to begin with, but everybody to me is on a blank slate to start with, especially in this offense. So I think we could be enamored and fall in love with the speed of Bowman, and I hope that's something Billy Napier can tap into as well on a consistent basis to get those guys on the field a bit more. But I do like the fact that everybody's starting with a blank slate. Everybody's starting from zero. Hopefully, the whole leaning on seniority entirely way too much. Now, I think there is something to that. But, if guys aren't getting the job done, if a change needs to be made, or if a guy has the hot hand, let's try that for a change, and maybe that's new staff. We'll get that. But just the 3 guys that will probably be left over, not leaving. Pierce and Davis on their way out. So I do think we know are on the roster. Just probably see how it plays out with those, and maybe go get one more. And we'll see also what happens in recruiting. There's a couple of targets out there with Citizen and ETN out there from Louisiana. We'll see how that plays out. I know ETN announced yesterday. I think he's going to make his announcement at one of the high school all-star games. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. So if you could, that's one thing about this class, and I mentioned it last night when we were kind of looking ahead for February is going to have to hit some skill players coming up in this next 7 weeks or so leading up to the final part of signing day in February. The trenches were hit really hard yesterday. The secondary was hit really hard, but we do need to see probably some skill players coming up to finish out this class coming up in February.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
All right. Gator Laker Colt. Been a while since I've seen you, man.
Hey, Dave. Good morning, man.
How you doing?
Hey, I was excited about yesterday, man. Seemed like we got a pretty good wide receivers coach to go along with all the recruits we got. You got any info on tight ends coach or linebackers coach coming in?
I know everybody saw Silk's tweet yesterday about Sider more than likely, staying at Penn State. So that was the hot name for for tight end coach there along the way. So not really. I haven't followed up much on who could be next for tight end coach for the Gators, just because I think all the focus was pretty much on Sider once we heard. He wasn't going to be running backs coach, of course, with Jaluk coming in, but his name was kind of shuffled in to be the tight end coach. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to start looking around today, is maybe filling out the rest of their staff. It was. I hate that it got announced yesterday because of all the focus being on. Excuse me. All the focus being on signing day, of course, but you had a hire there, and like, man, just I felt for the guy just a bit with Kerry Colbert there. His name escaped me for a second. Him being announced from USC, spent the last I think 6 seasons there. It got kind of shuffled and buried on signing day, but I think a pretty good pickup there at the wide receiver coach position. So we'll see where it goes for coaches. I do want to dig around a little bit more today as far as that goes.
Do you think he plays a part in possibly getting us some West Coast kids? I mean, I know we tried it before and they kind of didn't pan out, but you think it kind of plays a part in maybe getting some more West Coast kids?
Maybe so. To begin with, look, we're not. Of course, just because it didn't work out.
That just seems where the quarterbacks seem to be a lot of time. They come either out of the West Coast or coming out of Texas. So
and you don't completely shut the door on that stuff. Yeah, if you can bring somebody over, then by all means you do it and try. You don't make it a huge focus, and that's what that bit Dan Mullen early on in the process in his. But if there's a guy that wants to come to Florida, and they do their research, and that's the guy they want on the roster. I feel better. Like I didn't feel great about the process from the last staff. I feel better about the process and what we're seeing from this staff. And that's not to sit here and say I'm picking and choosing just because the hope of Billy Napier has got me going here. But I think there is a process, a different way of looking at it. And look, there's a history at Alabama too with Billy Napier, with Kerry Colbert. So he's got a little bit of roots, not deep roots in the South, but he knows more than likely the bread's going to be buttered in the South. For getting prospects, but if you can take advantage and get a player or two from the West Coast, by all means, you take advantage of it. And it is a risk, but I think the one, if it's a highly ranked player, the one that they've vetted and feel like he's a good fit for this program, then I don't think you shy away from it. You just don't make it a huge. You just don't make it a huge focus.
Yeah, I think it'll be real important, possible, like I said, because a lot of them come from either California or Texas. Because in the state of, I looked at the recruiting for next year in the state of Florida, and there isn't a top quarterback even in the top 50 in the state of Florida next year. So
at
least not right now, right?
No,
so
we'll see where all that goes and how much it changes. But you're right. Look, Florida was going to Texas to get a quarterback before ever decommitted. This past cycle as well. So you're right. It's a lot of your Georgia has been really hot state for quarterbacks as well. So,
Right.
the state of Florida has not really been producing at the quarterback position a good bit.
Right. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Unsubbed, I think you're in here.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Good morning, go Gators. Yeah, man, how impressive is Billy Napier? Not even from a stuffing Kirby in his locker for a couple of recruits, only being in here for 9 days, but just from a procedural standpoint of, just a little bit of insight from the press conference of the teams he's putting together for evaluation and, everyone having the right amount of work, not too little, not too much, and the emphasis on still having that family life. I think we really got a good one.
To go on that, I know a lot of people slam Dan Mullen for that kind of same thought too. But look, there's different levels, there's different way of doing it. And like you said, when Billy Napier said built an army, that's what he meant. Get enough bodies to where it makes a difference. And look, I'm sure he's not talking about going out there and drinking margaritas while when you probably shouldn't be, and
hitting the lake when you should be recruiting.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's a realization that comes with this, and look, nobody's saying you can't spend time with family and all that. So that's not what a lot of people are saying when it comes to that. But read the room a bit, know when to do it, know when not to do it. Of course, we can't sit here and tell these head coaches and coaches to do what they do. And you can definitely tell. We heard Billy Napier all throughout the process of people are brought on the podcast. He did say he's a family man, a man of faith. So that leads you to believe he's going to do it his way. And have some family time too. But I do think there's something to be said about building the staff, building a huge staff, putting numbers to it, and as you said, kind of disperse the roles. And and since you can do it that way, nothing really drops off because you have so many people behind it.
Yeah, and it gives a lot of security for what he's trying to do long term. I think next year, we still have a super talented team, and we can really be strong in the East. But who knows? We might lose some games that traditionally we don't lose. Kentucky, Tennessee. But I hope after signing day and listening to Coach more, the fan base is just rallies on patience and just looks forward to 2 years in the distance when we really see Napier get a good class under him and really get things rolling. But man, impressive start for sure, especially with that Colbert pickup from USC. He's developed a lot of good guys out there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, London Drake, just a couple. He's put some good dudes out there. So I think he's going to be a strong pickup. It's not only developed the wide receivers, but he's got those ends with the West Coast high schools. If it comes to fruition, like you said, who knows, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I know Zach Azani was another name that was hit out of Denver Broncos wide receivers coach and former Gator wide receiver coach. His name was brought up a good bit too as maybe a wide receiver coach. So Colbert's name was brought up really early in the process, and then I didn't hear anything for like the last 2 weeks, week and a half as far as that goes. But his name was brought up really early in the process. So this was something that it wasn't a let's go find somebody. This had been in the works for a bit.
Well, yeah, it seems like Napier pretty much knew he was going to take another step from Louisiana and had his board ready to go, and it seems like he's hitting on it. He's doing more. I was a fan of Dan Mullen. I wish him well in his future, but man, after seeing what Billy wrapped up in 9 days, it's like, what were you doing, bro? Like,
Yeah, I don't want to pretend that I wasn't excited, about early Mullen success and all that. Of course, on Gators Breakdown, there's plenty of history out there to say the word in recruiting was always there.
Yeah.
But there was there were some on-field results to point to and a lot of excitement. That's what you were hoping he would build on, and he never was able to build on it.
Yeah.
Now you have maybe the reverse trend here of hitting it hard on the recruiting trail, seeing some early returns there, and then you hope that really can lend itself to sustained success.
For sure. Hey, thanks for having me on, Dave. I appreciate it. Great content as always, and go Gators.
Go Gators. Thanks, man. All right, Corey, you're in here. Just trying to get some people in here who haven't. Hey, man.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
Real good. Hey, I appreciate all you do. It's I always enjoy listening to these spaces. So thank you.
Thank you, man.
Hey, I know you guys kind of touched on this a little bit, and I just recently joined. I think after yesterday, I'm pretty much sold on the fact that he's a recruiter, Napier. Just curious, I guess I always look at it as, you can be great if you are a great X's and O guy, and you can be great if you're a recruiter, but really what makes you special is if you can do both. So what's the insiders say about Napier and his staff's ability to be able to, X and O and coach, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. Is part of the reason he was hired as well. I think anytime you can go into a program like Louisiana, who had been downtrodden, they were pretty low when he come in, and they were put on sanctions, and that goes more to the recruiting side of it, of course, but that ends up playing a part in the players you put on the field. So they were limited there early in his tenure, and then his second year, able to put up double-digit wins. And get 10 wins this season, and be able to not in no time turn that program around and start winning. Start competing for the Sun Belt, winning the Sun Belt by the time he gets out of there. I think a lot of people will point to, there was a lot of close games if he's the best recruiter in the conference. But look, it's the best recruiter in the conference, but you're not building a huge gap when you are recruiting at that level. Granted, it's still Louisiana. You're not building a huge gap over App State. You're not building a huge gap over Georgia Southern. While you are the top team in the conference in recruiting, it's that when you start recruiting at that level, there's not a lot of separation. So being ranked 85th or 90th, that's not a huge difference in being ranked 75th or 100th. That gap is really not that large. So you're still going to get a lot of close games, and that level of recruit. You're not getting the separation. I guess that's probably the best way of putting it. So I think it speaks a good bit of just the on-field coach of being able to win those close games and having the confidence and going out there. Look, he wasn't getting the best quarterback play. Now he had a quarterback that was there, played a lot of games for him. Once he got ingrained, I think he started 3 years for him. If you go back and look at some film stuff, and the Gator Nation Football podcast guys put it out there. But look, there was plenty of open receivers in the offense. Levi Lewis really wasn't wasn't really capable of letting his arm talent wouldn't really let him be capable of performing that offense at a large level, at a very large successful level there in that offense, but their potential is there. So I think you start, and there's a lot of going into the football aspect that I'm going to do coming up. There's a coaching series that I subscribe to. It's an 8-part series of Billy Napier explaining his offense and what he brings to the table there. So there's a lot, as we get through these next few months of learning more about Napier and learning more about his offense that we can get into. But I do think just being able to, while you are recruiting at a certain level and recruiting the best in the Sun Belt, that separation is still not there, but you're able to go out and win 10 games consistently, I think, to me, speaks to the role that he can bring on the field and being a difference maker with his peers there with rosters that are very similar. Now, you hope the roster is very similar coming up to LSU and Georgia and Alabama, and those same coaching in close games, they can go 50-50. They can go either way. A lot of times over time they tend to even out. But at least there's something you can point to when talent level is pretty equal, that you got a guy that can go out there and make the right decisions and win close games.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head in terms of you don't get much separation where I hope the difference with when you're at Florida now, the difference is hopefully you see that separation between, say, the South Carolinas of the world, the Missouris of the world. Some of those teams that let's be honest, that we should beat every year.
Right. If Florida's right, you're not worried about South Carolina. You're not worried about Kentucky.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, yeah, no, that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to hearing more what you have to say. In the obviously now the focus is recruiting, and so it'll be interesting to see as we get more into the quote unquote off season and the spring practices and stuff to see what kind of install and what exactly we're getting into from a more of a coaching and X's and O's standpoint. So
yeah, also interested in like what changes. We can go back and look at what happened in Louisiana, but what differences does he bring to the table? While Levi Lewis and Anthony Richardson may be very similar in play style and what you're expecting, now I do think Anthony Richardson has a lot more live arm, a better arm talent. Can he open up the offense a bit more in what we've seen on tape so far? And maybe that changes the offense a bit, having a quarterback that he can rely on his arm a bit more. As I say, go back to his Arizona State days, and now while that was under Todd Graham, and Todd Graham has a more open offense, he still trusted Billy Napier to run that offense. So there is some history there of being at Alabama in a more open offense, being at Arizona State in a more open offense that, all right, well, if I have this type of quarterback, or if I recruit this type of quarterback, we can change, we can adapt. So I do think, there is a little bit of history as well that it doesn't necessarily have to look like those last 3 years at Louisiana. That's what he had. He had a quarterback he could trust. That was the offense he was going to run. I am interested in seeing what a difference in talent level brings to Billy Napier and the changes that he brings. Now, he is going to run the ball. Right? I don't think there's going to be any question about that. He is going to lean on the run game. He's a big zone read offense guy. And that's kind of hard to teach up front sometimes in the offensive line. So I think you got to go get some really smart offensive linemen. But I do think, there will be some differences. It won't be exactly what we saw these last 3 years at Louisiana.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think so too, and I'm okay with that. That the run first to set up your pass. Offense. I mean, I think most coaches want to do that. Obviously, 2 years ago was a little bit different with Trask. I mean, that was skill set and all the weapons you had on the outside around you. And so, getting to the run first and then taking a deep shot here and there. If you look at, Alabama, that's what they've been doing. Ohio State's kind of been the same way in terms of, a good run game and then big deep shot pass plays type of thing, of offense. So looking forward to it. Hey, thanks, David.
Thanks, man.
See ya.
Smitty, you're in here if you wanted to speak. You've been here for a while, so I'm not sure if you're available.
Yeah, hey, can you hear me, Dave?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, just kind of waiting my turn. Hey, listen, I had a couple things I wanted to touch on this morning. The Urban Meyer fire. Do you think that helps? Well, maybe some kind of assistant targets that's on that staff. Do you think that helps speed up maybe a hire from that, or does it really have no effect on it? I know Tosh's name's been brought up a lot.
Right. I know some people have brought it up to me this morning too, as well, as far as maybe a timeline. I don't know if it changes the timeline or not. Those guys are under contract either way, so it doesn't matter if Urban Meyer's there or not. So now maybe they don't. I don't know what that means for their contracts. I don't even know their contract situation. Do those guys under contract do they sign a new contract every year, or is it a 2-year window, 3-year window? It doesn't even matter. I'm just guessing at that point, so I don't really know for sure. You hope it would speed it up to go ahead and get a guy like Tosh on staff. Now, there's a whole bunch of rumors out there that Tosh has not been cleared by the SEC, that he has to be cleared by the SEC, or the SEC won't clear him. I think there's some more to figure out there. Is there some kind of meeting that could happen? Is there more of a vetting process? Does there more have to happen for that to take place? And we'll see. I know that's the latest that's going on there with Tosh Napoy, maybe a staff position on Billy Napier's staff in Florida. So that's something to look out for there. I know Ryan Stamper is part of that Jaguar staff as well, former Gator linebacker. I'd love for him to have some kind of role, maybe on field at linebacker, maybe, or behind the scenes as more of a player personnel type. That's what he is doing in Jacksonville. So if there's a way you can get him to come on down the road from Jacksonville to Gainesville, I'd love to have that former Gator on staff as well in a certain type of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, one more thing. Rumors and a little talk about maybe certain staff members we have now, or the old staff, maybe negative recruiting against us. I seen some stuff on Twitter this morning where, in particularly, C-Rob was liking other university commit posts and didn't like one single one of ours. I mean, I know there's only so much you can say about that. What do you? I mean, what kind of negativity do you think may be going on? Maybe with some old staff while they're still there. I mean that seemed like
Yeah, I mean,
that could be a little bit of poison, that we don't need.
yeah. Well, luckily we only got another week of it. So if it plays out, these guys have to play out their contracts and stuff. But yeah, I mean, to me, if that's the case, and if I'm Billy Napier, can go ahead and say, hey, you don't need to be around here anymore, and you go ahead and make that move. But yeah, it does seem kind of petty when you're looking out there on Twitter and you see Rob Lycan, a recruit for LSU and Georgia and Florida State and other schools out there, and even Shamar James, a player that he recruited and was really close to, not really a reaction to that. If you want to read into that, but it's definitely out there. You can definitely see it. The examples are out there of him liking other schools' commits and not liking one for Florida. So it seems kind of pettiness to go along there. I know his name was brought up to maybe being retained and seeing how these last couple of weeks go during bowl practice and all that. But I do think there is some talk too out there more behind the scenes going on there with C-Rob, maybe something to do with the transfers of Diabate and Bogle. We'll see if I can follow up with more of that too. But there seems to be a connection there as well. So. Yeah, if it's time to move on now, go ahead and do it. I'm like you. I don't know. You don't even wait a week after the bowl game versus UCF when those guys will be clearing out their offices. But it's definitely out there. It's not being hidden out there of kind of what's going on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, man. Oh. Carlos.
David.
What's up, man?
What's going on? Good morning, everybody. Go Gators. Dave, is everything I had said before this guy got hired starting to come to fruition? When I said just calm down, everybody. The good thing about it is if you guys really want to know Billy Napier, it's all on the timeline. All you got to do is go back and look at UL football. Just go back and just look at from the time he got there to the way the man left. And he left in integrity when he left that university. The man is upstanding. He don't believe in not finishing a project, actually seeing it all the way through. Yeah, he's very methodical in how he go about doing stuff. Because notice, the whole entire time during early signing day yesterday, you didn't see him on Twitter. You didn't see him doing anything but steady getting us what we need. And on top of it,
yeah, I even think he shoved away. I think he was supposed to have an interview on SEC Network at some point too.
Yeah, he did,
I think
and he shoved that away.
Yeah, that didn't even happen. Yep.
It's just that a lot of us say that he's off the Nick Saban tree, but if he can be anywhere remotely close to Nick Saban, I mean, direct clone wise, I'll take it. And he's showing you that he is in it for the right reasons, because I've talked to some Georgia fans and they ain't happy that we snuck from them at all, period.
No, I know everybody knows my connection to Georgia fans and growing up in Georgia. I am telling you, they are not happy whatsoever.
And you know what I told them as I was coming in to work this morning? I said, get used to it. And I pulled the line, and if anybody that knows the rapper Ice Cube, he has a song called No Vaseline. And I was talking to my boy Tez, and I said, you need to put that on the timeline for all the Gator fans in response to everybody out there that has been dumping on us for years now. We about to be, like Ice Cube said in that opening line of that song, it ain't over, MFers. It ain't over. It's only getting started.
Let's hope, man. Let's hope. Let's hope it continues. Hopefully, yesterday was a introduction to what we can expect on the recruiting trail from Billy Napier.
Well, Dave, man, I just wanted to say my little piece. Of course, I missed the last couple of few spaces, but I also tune in when you put it on YouTube, so I get a chance to listen to what everybody said. I'm very happy about yesterday. I love the fact that Florida State is yet still a dumpster fire. And I applaud Dion for sticking it to their butts because they did him wrong, and he went out and he did what he thought he needed to do for all HBCUs. With me being an alumni of Alcorn State University, I was happy that he was able to put HBCUs on the map. So with that being said, I'm going to end mine by saying go Gators, go Jackson State, screw FSU, as well as UGA.
Thanks, Colin. All right. Quiz, what's up, man?
Good morning, Dave. How's it going, buddy? Good morning, Gator
Good. How about
Nation.
you?
No, Dave, just kind of jumping on, piggybacking what Carlos said. I just think, very excited about the whole thing, even though, it was only 9 or 10 players, but I think that's setting the foundation for what we need. I do agree with what you and Will Miles said yesterday in regards to getting the skill players. Obviously, we're in need of that. But to add to, obviously, Julian Armella chose. I was really hoping he was going to choose us, but unfortunately, throughout the night and stuff, he chose the nose. But again, let him deal with that. We'll see him 4 years, 3 years, and we'll take care of it in the business, on the field. But I'm actually excited, Dave, when it comes to a coaching staff that actually knows where IMG Academy is. All it took was Google Maps.
Yeah. Hey, and also that, in a certain confidence to go in there. I mean, don't get me wrong. No, Billy Napier wouldn't have been the only one to do it, but to go in there very early in his job and say, hey, we're going to IMG. We're going to go make a presence there. And to go there and in just a few short days be able to secure a commitment from a school that Florida has struggled at, that has not really been too welcome at. Because of past coaches and actions there, to be able to go pull that off, I mean that's another feather in the cap there of maybe we got the right coach to kind of lead this charge in recruiting, and that's one really good example of it.
Definitely, I definitely agree 100% with you, Dave. The question, 2 notes that I wanted to ask your opinion, and just overall everybody else's as well that jump after me. First question is, Evan Stewart apparently did not sign with Texas A&M. So is that something that possibly we could be looking forward to maybe in February? And the next question I had was, as far as transfer portal and looking forward to February, who should we be focused on as far as Napier possibly talking to and told them, listen, push back February and get some surprises coming up?
As far as telling people to push back, I don't know who he's told that. Maybe that would be a pure guess on my part, so I won't even do that. But as we did say, last night on Gators Breakdown, there's 2 Louisiana running backs, Citizen and ETN. Try and see if you can get in on those guys. Definitely check in with Evan Stewart. Now I know Nick Evers, the quarterback, who he's really good friends with, not at Florida now, so maybe that hurts. I was hearing through the grapevine yesterday that Jackson State may be a destination for him too. If all this talk of NIL money and what they're bringing to the table, that could be an outside shot as well, which would be crazy in the world of recruiting right now. So you can't shove it away after what we saw yesterday. I wouldn't pick Kevin Stewart from Florida right now. I think a lot would have to happen. We'd have to see another visit. We'd have to see some conversations with Napier there as far as that goes. Let's see. Trying to think of who else. I haven't really done my transfer portal digging or who's going to be left uncommitted. Maybe can make a decision in February. That's definitely coming up in the next few weeks or so. T.J. Dudley, that linebacker, that could be in on another Alabama linebacker, state of Alabama linebacker. I think really highly rated 4-star linebacker is another name to keep an eye on as far as that goes. But yeah, I think skilled players you have to really keep an eye on, and transfer portal as well. I talked about that earlier, but that's it needs to be the plan for the next few weeks.
Awesome, Dave. I'm just looking forward to the season. Obviously, it could be a little bumpy, but again, Rome wasn't built in a day, so we just have to have patience. At the end of the day, I just want a coach that takes these rivalries seriously, and I think he's going to be a guy who's definitely going to take the LSU the LSU rivalry seriously, because of he feels he might have been slighted, but hopefully he takes that Jacksonville game seriously, because he should. I'll definitely tweet at him and let him know. Listen, this matters. Let's win that cocktail party, because we all definitely want to sip some over some Georgia bodies. But at the end of the day, I just want to say, go blue. Wolverines do God's will, God's plan there, and hopefully Georgia, all that promise goes into crap, and they lose that game. All right, guys, Gator Nation, love you guys. Orange and blue always for life, and go Gators.
Go Gators. All right, let's see. All right, last two here. Pharaoh and Rick.
Morning, Dave.
How you doing, man?
Man, cooling. Hey, man. Hey, yeah, that was a good day yesterday. Cause boy, listen, I ain't gonna lie. I was one of the ones like I had faith in Napier what he could do, but when we lost them, we lost Evans and all them. I'm like, I know what he's trying to do, but I don't think that was part of the plan. I don't think that was part of the plan. But that was a good closing, man. He got the right staff. The boys did their thing, man. So I was happy they did that right there, man.
Yeah, right staff and limited staff.
Yeah,
at that. Not even near fully complete.
Not even fully complete, man. And that's amazing, man. So like you say, like, man, I'm just ready to see what the X and O's gonna look like. But yeah, that was a good push at the end, and yeah, I'm just ready for this spring to see what it looks like. Emory just moved on, and wish him the best. I'm gonna see what I got AR gonna do, man. I feel real good with AR, man. Like, woo! I've been.
I do too, man. I really hope when spring rolls around that he and Billy Napier historically has late springs, so maybe hopefully that plays a part in it. Like the spring game is usually like the last week of April. I think I went back and looked. He delays those spring games for as long as he can, and so maybe that hopefully plays a part in Anthony Richardson being able to come back from this meniscus surgery. I don't know how long he's supposed to be out. I know we don't really know the full details of that surgery, so how invasive it was and everything that needed to be fixed. So could he be out for 6 weeks and he's back for spring, or is it a 3-4 month period and he kind of misses spring? I'd love to have him, of course, in the early process of learning under Billy Napier and being able to go through spring practice.
For real. Heck yeah, man. What else I was gonna say, man? Yeah, let's say that the Hunter to Jackson State, man, that was real big right there. I love that right there, man. I love Dion up there putting in work, man, and just like with Carlos was saying, like I'm a FAMU alum, so stuff like that is real big. Just to be able to get some of them recruits to our HBCUs, man, because a lot of our greats started over there, so we love to be able to get a few of them greats back, man. So that was real big. Yeah, now, man, we're gonna see what we got in February, and yeah, we get to the spring, man, and I think like this coming up this fall, we're gonna have a good season, man. Like I think that I was one of them, with Dan. I ain't want Dan to go still. I still wanted that one more year, man, because just to see how they go. How I looked at the roster, I feel like it was gonna be a Michigan flip. How Harbaugh just did with it was a trash 20, and here they are right now. So I would say going to this fall, I think I'm not really. I know a lot of folks were saying like, oh, we'll be happy, lucky if we win 7-8. I don't think we got a 7-8 win team. if everything work out in that spring, that's an easily 9-10 win team. And so I'm ready to see that go down, man. We got the running backs. Like you say, if they stay fresh, we pretty much good in that backfield. Nice big receivers for blocking. I think I think it's laid out pretty nice, man. I guess my question would be what that X's and O's look like on that defense end. What we gonna look like. Which I think we're gonna be pretty good, but you won't see.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see it too. I think we'll just have to see how it all plays out as far as the X's and O's go. That first month of the schedule will tell us a whole lot about the possibility potential of Florida opening up with
Utah,
and then you got Kentucky and Tennessee in the first month as well. So there's a lot to get excited for really, really quick with this coaching staff.
We'll see what that young man energy do, because that's what I was thinking about it. I was like, man, you know what? I always be trying to figure out like what's going on with the schools and all that type of stuff. Like what can get all the big three Florida schools back rolling. And then we got the high. I was like, man, we needed a big name coach, which probably most likely would have been an older coach or something like that. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was just thinking about it recently. I was like, maybe these young guys, let these young guys handle this, man. It might be a little different vibe with young coaches, man.
Yeah.
It might be a whole different energy. I said it might be what we need. That might be the thing for all the big three. Get to some young guys in there, and it might sparkle or something.
Well, I'm okay. I'm okay if FSU and Miami don't figure it out though.
Listen, I'm one of the ones like this. I'm okay if they don't get back better, but I be one, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and whatever can snatch Florida recruits from going to Alabama and Georgia and Clemson, Ohio State, I'm all for it. I'm like, if we can shut it down, then everything can go back to its normal pecking order. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get our state back. And then
I also look at it in a way, if Florida's right, I'm not really worried about what anybody else does.
True.
So it's that's and it doesn't matter who it is. I think if Florida can live up to their potential, I mean, of course you got your rivals and all that kind of stuff. But if Florida's right, to me everything kind of takes care of itself.
True. Well, that's it, Dave. That's all I had to say, man. Feeling good. Go Gators.
Go Gators, man. All right, Rick, if you're in here, man, I'll end it with you. Sorry, everybody else who's waiting. I have to call him at some point here.
Hey, good morning, Dave. I just had one quick question for you, man. With Diabate and Chris leaving, do you have any insight on why that possibly happened? Because they were both kind of, if not starters, big rotational players on the defense. And I'm just wondering if anybody knows what could have caused that besides possibly a coaching change.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. You named it first. Coaching change, of course, transition. That happens. Just natural roster attrition is going to happen. Bogle's timed out with Brenton Cox deciding to come back, so maybe he feels like he should be starting. And, granted, with a new staff coming in, as I said earlier with the running backs, everybody's kind of starting at level zero. Everybody's on a blank slate. You'd hope he would at least, but I get it, not going through spring and taking that chance, but, I mean, I don't know why he thinks he can go to Michigan State and start right away either. I mean, either way, you're, I think, taking a risk. You do have more of a background here at Florida. So, yeah, I would have liked to see Bogle stick it out and fight for that position. But there's a lot of connection to the coaching staff as well. A lot of guys really respected C-Rob and Christian Robinson and what he brought to the table on the defensive side of the ball. For whatever reason, they could also, very have a connection to Todd Grantham, and he's going as well. So maybe a fresh start is what they think is needed there for Diabate. Maybe another. I mean, granted, it's going to change here too. Now, granted, he did want to play linebacker. He did want to shift to linebacker in the linebacker position. Now, whether it's a good position for him ultimately, that remains to be seen. That he did want to play linebacker. He was a pretty good edge rusher his freshman year. He is that true tweener. I mean, he maybe he goes trying to find another role for himself. Granted, he hasn't made the full decision of choosing another school yet. We'll see ultimately what he decides, and maybe outside chance he comes back here to Florida. But definitely finding a defense, finding a role for him to where he can probably roam around a little bit more, use that speed that he has. So, I think you really do have to point to the coaching change first and foremost of why these guys are deciding to leave. But maybe just honestly, also just for a fresh start. But Diabate led the team in tackles. Now, granted, part of that's just playing the linebacker position and guys coming to you and filtering to you. Not a lot of big plays being made there at that position, but maybe honestly just a fresh start. It's hard to say fresh start when there's a fresh start happening in Gainesville, but maybe just a complete fresh start, get out of Gainesville or whatever. That's the only thing I can really point to. I don't know why for sure. Maybe he feels like he can go and play in a play for a team that's got more of a better reputation for defense. I think that maybe that factors into it as well. I'm honestly just pure kind of speculation and guessing here as to kind of extend it past the natural roster attrition of a coaching change.
I got you. Sounds good. And one last thing before I let you go, Matt, and this is a quick one, I think. How do you feel about the new strength and conditioning guy, as opposed to Nick Savage? I know a lot of guys loved him, and actually, I saw that Jacob mentioned him before he left, and a lot of guys really liked him. So, was this just something that was bound to happen with Napier coming in and that being his guy, or do you think there was a reasoning? Maybe our guys were getting pushed around a little too much, and they needed to bring in some new blood.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with Napier having a background with Hawk. Honestly, they've been together for a while. It's somebody he trusts. We have to remember, this strength and conditioning coach or role that is for a football program. Those guys have a lot more contact with them, the head coach, than the staff does at certain parts of the season. So it has to be somebody you really trust. It has to be somebody you're willing to pretty much hand this team off to when the staff can be nowhere near the players. So I think it's an important hire for a new coach, and he's going to bring somebody in he trusts. And I think that's more of it to do. Not that Nick Savage isn't capable, not that Nick Savage is not qualified to do it, but more than looking like you're getting pushed around and not playing physical the last couple of years. I think it's more to do with, hey, I need to bring somebody in I can trust, and I'm going to hand these players off to for a certain amount of time.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
Thanks, man. All right, everybody. That will do it here for this Twitter Spaces the day after National Signing Day. I did record it. It'll be up later. Will and I did get on Gators Breakdown last night to kind of review National Signing Day. So I'm going to let that episode breathe just a bit before I put this Twitter Spaces up a little later on. But thanks, everybody, joining me live here on this Twitter Space. A lot out there on Gators Breakdown, of course, with Will and I. Big National Signing Day review episode as we look back at the exciting day that was National Signing Day. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on Twitter Spaces. I will check you guys out later on.